Alert for windy conditions as we head into your Friday morning. We're on your side with how long the windy conditions will stick around and when we can see rain across central Alabama.
And we're bringing you those tips on how to drive safely during tomorrow's rain to prevent hydroplaning.
And we're looking at the skies through you, the viewer's eyes, as we look at your weather photos shared across the First Alert weather app.
Live on your side. First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
And we're so glad you're with us here for First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Tania Michelle joining us again. And Tania, 69 degrees, not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about the weekend because I finally get to enjoy some of those 70s.
I know. You know, we had storms one weekend. Well, actually 2 weekends. Remember, we had all the tornadoes, and then we ended up with the big cold snap, and we had the snow. It's been a very active past several weeks around here. So we deserve a weekend where it's a little bit calmer.
Absolutely.
Of course, our hearts go out to all those families impacted as we continue to follow that breaking news with the plane in
Potomac
Washington.
River, yeah.
And I know last night you were sharing some of those images showing the water temperatures there. It's just
cold.
terrible.
We're talking
frigid.
about 34, 35 degrees.
Yeah, 34, 35 degrees out there. So yeah, but we'll continue to follow that story, and we'll have more, of course, on WBRC. Right now, I want to take you over to the next big thing, and what is next? You can see here that we're going to be talking about those winds, of course, for tonight. We got some rain, some thunder, possible. Well, I say thunder. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of storms out of this tonight and into tomorrow morning. I certainly don't see a big risk for any severe weather. Notice we're going to have dry weather coming back as we go into our weekend. So radar right now for most of us, dry, but there are some showers showing up. So if you have the First Alert weather app, you're watching me around Smith Lake, you may be getting a precipitation alert saying some showers not far from where you are. There's a little bit of rain. That's actually the same areas where we saw some of that rain earlier today. You checked in with Megan, but the heavier wet weather is still back to the west. This is all along a front moving southwest to northeast, and this will gradually make its way into the state later on tonight. And I think after midnight for most of us, this has really slowed down. As you can see, looking at the next 24 hours, there's that line, and that's showing 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we could have some of those gusty winds, possibility again of a thunderstorm. But notice this is showing 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. This is from the high-resolution model data, and it's showing not until late morning there before this starts to move into parts of Bibb County, Jefferson, Shelby, Blount, Coleman counties. So plan for rain for the morning drive. I'd factor in some extra drive time. East Alabama, certainly. You can see that's even showing 2 o'clock, some leftover rain. But here's what could happen. I know we've been talking a lot about all this would move out if you had Friday evening plans. I still think there might be a passing shower. It won't last all night, but there's some trailing energy you see right there. There's an upper level disturbance that moves through a lot of cold air loft, and sometimes when you see this, not necessarily a big risk for storms, but sometimes you can get some small pea-sized hail with something like that and some a nice little downpour. So plan for that possibility, maybe a passing shower. That moves. Notice how it just moves on by quickly, so it won't cancel or cause any major issues for your plans Friday night. Just plan for maybe a brief delay. That moves on through, and then we go into the weekend, and we're talking about dry weather coming back for Saturday and Sunday. So just how much rain? As we go take a closer look at those rainfall totals here, this is from the GFS model. Not showing a lot. I mean, of course, it's showing as this first moves in, we could end up with some higher rainfall amounts. That's showing upwards to an inch. I still think some of these areas to the east where we see a 1/4 inch showing up in some locations like Anniston, I still think we could pick up to a 1/2 inch of rain in some of those areas. This wet weather is going to be slow to move on through early tomorrow morning, but it's certainly going to cause some wet roads now, Tania. We were hopeful this would be kind of in and out of here before the morning drive, but it looks like we may have some travel concerns.
Yeah, Wes, and it really just takes at minimum about 1/10 of an inch to cause you to hydroplane. So you definitely want to make sure you're being careful on those early morning commutes tomorrow, no matter how much rain we're expecting. Although it may be under an inch as far as rainfall totals, it doesn't take much for you to lose traction of your vehicle when driving on wet roads. So how wet roads impact your commute? How will it? Well, let's walk through this together. So the one thing to keep in mind is that when you have dry roads, the tires are able to make impact with the road surface. But when there's wet roads, you can actually lose contact and cause you to hydroplane. Now let's break that down just a little bit more. So here's an image of a car on a dry surface. Notice all wheels on the ground, but this is what happens when you hydroplane. You actually lose traction of your vehicle and you lose control, which is very scary. Have you ever hydroplaned before? I know I've experienced it, and it is not fun not having control of your vehicle. So please be careful tomorrow and keep in mind the hydroplaning speeds. You want to make sure you're driving slower because as water is on the surface, it's not going to start to return to the backside of your tire. So the water in between the surface of the road and your tire has a little bit more contact the slower you drive, but you begin to lose contact the faster that you drive. So moderate speeds, less contact, and then you lose even more contact and possibly hydroplane if you're driving too fast with those wet roadways. So please be careful tomorrow morning. We'll be breaking down that weekend forecast where we're expecting drier conditions. A little bit more here in Weather Extra in just a bit. But I want to take you across the country now to Texas, where the same system that brought them rain last night into today will be bringing us rain across our area into tomorrow morning. First Alert AccuTrack showing rain totals as high as 4.4 inches across Dallas, and those severe thunderstorm warnings move through. This system stemming from the same storm that brought snow to the Rockies and the rain across Southern California. And in North Carolina, at least 3 wildfires have burned near towns that were also devastated by Hurricane Helene. They just can't catch a break. The Crooked Creek fire burned nearly 220 acres in McDowell County and is now 55% contained, thankfully. The fire started really due to a downed power line during high winds yesterday. Thankfully, the evacuation order for affected areas has been lifted now, and residents have been allowed to return to their homes. And one family in Yancey County, North Carolina, can finally turn off their generator for good. Their power was restored over the weekend, nearly 3 months after it went out during Hurricane Helene. But as Justin Berger reports, the community helped bring a little light into what was really a dark time.
Diane Mers moved to this picturesque home from New England with her husband 25 years ago.
It was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
She photographed wildlife, living peacefully in the greenery across the Cane River. That all changed in late September.
Now there's nothing. We've got one tree left for them to sit in if they come back.
Mers says her home sits 40 or 50 feet above the water. The river rose to within 7 feet of their fence line.
There was no road here. The road in front of our home, all the way down, probably to where the road bends, was gone. There was no road. The river had moved over and the river was directly below us.
This is what it looked like when the water receded. Her road was destroyed. She watched the power lines go down.
As soon as this happened, we knew it was going to take a long time for us to get power. We knew that. Just looking, every pole on the entire road, I think, was taken down.
For more than a week, they sat in the dark.
We were trapped here. There was no way in or out.
Mers was told it could be a year before the lights came back on, and if not for the goodwill of perfect strangers delivering them a generator, who knows how long it would have been.
They didn't wait until we had road. They came over the rocks and up the side of the hill on a ladder, and it was amazing to watch.
Months passed.
We only could go out in and out with the four-wheeler.
Eventually, a drivable road was reborn. Then, as Mers puts it, the cavalry showed up.
They put that in on Sunday.
A power pole, lined through their tree, hooked directly into their home.
They might have bushwhacked a line through the woods if there were 20 houses here to power, but for one person, it wasn't financially or physically feasible to go to that trouble for one home, and we understood that.
Her husband is a former lineman with a phone company. They never called French Broad Electric. They knew they'd show up when it was safe.
Little by little, I'm feeling better about it, and I'm hopeful that, we will get the help we need and it will return to the way it used to look. In my lifetime, I hope. I hope. That's all we can do is hope.
In 30 seconds, we continue to talk about those warmer conditions for next week and take you beyond the atmosphere where we learn more about space debris. We'll be right back. Back into First Alert Weather Extra. We're expecting some rain tomorrow and even some wet weather that could impact early tomorrow evening around this time. Could be a couple leftover showers that move through, so we'll have to watch for that. But Saturday, it's dry. We're still seeing dry conditions. We'll get this out of here. The rain tomorrow, 63 degrees for a high temperature. Notice the wind will be out of the north, and briefly, it's going to feel chilly out there Saturday morning. Low 40s will stay above freezing, but plan for a chilly start. I know we're talking a lot about these warmer afternoons, but there's going to be some chilly mornings, so plan for that. But Sunday, Groundhog Day, back up to 71, and the way it looks right now, still could see plenty of sunshine on Groundhog Day, and you know what that means, Tania? May see a shadow.
Yeah, Wes, the groundhog might just see his shadow. But you know what you probably won't be able to see tonight? Well, what's in the sky? Because we're seeing so many clouds across the area, ahead of our next big thing. It's just how it is. But if we did have clear skies tonight, this is what you'd be able to see. If you would look to the southwest and look up really just after sunset. So right now would have been a good time if the skies were clear. You'll be able to see Venus and Saturn tonight, and that's likely going to be the case for the last couple of days of the month of January. But in Michigan, a space junk was falling through the sky. Riley Connell spoke with experts about what the debris was and tells us more about it.
When you look up into the night sky, you're guaranteed to see stars. But if you're as lucky as this News 10 viewer, you might see something more.
Anytime you see something falling through the sky and leaving that trail of light, whether it's space junk or a meteor that's falling through, it's always exciting.
You heard that right. Dr. Shannon Schmall said space junk. That's what some scientists call the debris left by human-made objects in space, like rockets and satellites. It could be what some people saw falling from the sky in mid-Michigan.
It might be a defunct satellite. It might be something that got lost from the International Space Station or paint that got chipped off. So it's anything that's not serving a functional purpose that is orbiting around the Earth.
Schmall and her students at Michigan State University's Abrams Planetarium can see space junk moving around in real time. Those green dots are active satellites. All the other colorful dots around them are pieces of space junk. It's looking pretty crowded up there beyond Earth's atmosphere, and Schmall says that's a problem.
Up in space right now, we do have a lot of space junk, and that is posing threats to a lot of our satellites, and a lot of it is coming back down to Earth.
Scientists and engineers are still trying to find a method for clearing out this galactic junkyard. Until they do, people across the planet could have their own chance to spot a bit of junk falling from the sky. In East Lansing, Riley Connell, News 10.
Well, still ahead, we're going to continue to bring you the updates for your weekend and talk about how the cold weather in Louisiana impacted the farms. Don't go anywhere. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra.
Back in, Chief Meteorologist Wes White. We had a couple of showers to the north there, but most of the areas still dry. We've got these nice, comfortable temperatures out there across the area as we fly out here on First Alert AccuTrack. You can see it across northwest locations right there. There was a little bit of rain that actually moved through Marion County, but now looks like a couple of those showers now over towards Smith Lake. As we go to the satellite view, a lot of clouds over the state, as Tania was talking about. Not the best sky watching weather for tonight. That's going to improve over the weekend, but all the rain, the heaviest rain right now is along a cold front that's back in here over Louisiana and parts of Arkansas and Mississippi. And we've been watching this area closely, not seeing a major outbreak of any severe weather. It looks like the storms are behaving, and once this moves in, it's going to be even weaker as it arrives later on tonight. And it is interesting, you'll see behind this, there's a very impressive upper low. Look at that spin in the atmosphere. Always impressive to see these things. Big swirl moving in. What this is a lot of cold air that's higher up and higher altitudes that's trailing this system. And as that swings through later tomorrow, we get the rain tomorrow morning and early afternoon, and then that may squeeze out a couple of showers tomorrow evening. So that's something I'm watching. And while we've talked about maybe a chance of rain that could impact Friday night. So we'll talk more about that as we go to the forecast data. You can see there's 2 in the morning showing northwest locations. Notice how this has really slowed down, and it's losing a lot of its support. That's why we're not seeing just a squall line of storms blasting through the state tonight. This is going to really slow down, and the rain's going to impact the morning drive tomorrow, and you can see showers, maybe a rumble of thunder, but overall there will be some gusty winds with this. A nice old gust front that's going to push through 9-10 o'clock in the morning. Looks like a good coverage across the area, and then by the afternoon we're seeing it tapering off across East Alabama. But notice, even though we catch some breaks later in the day, that trailing system you see right there may squeeze out a couple of showers, and it wouldn't surprise me, even though we're not expecting a major threat for storms, could get some pea-sized hailstones with something like that as it moves through later tomorrow. But the wind speed's the big story. The gradient winds in general, you can see tonight gusting over 30 miles per hour, and then tomorrow looks like those winds start to improve there during the day. But by Saturday morning, chilly out there, 42 degrees, 63 for a high. The weekend still looks dry for Groundhog Day. Monday and Tuesday, dry conditions in the 70s. We have the first alert for some rain coming back Tuesday night into Wednesday, and it's still too soon to know. Some data has the rain moving out and colder air already moving in by Super Bowl weekend, but we also have some data that holds on to that rain. So plan for that possibility into Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures will eventually take a tumble there as we get out closer to February the 10th. Well, some interesting observations on radar today. If for folks in South Alabama may have looked at the radar and said, hey, we have some rain on the way. You can see moving in off the Gulf of Mexico. Well, what this was, we see this many times. This was chaff, likely from a military exercise, but chaff is just a countermeasure, radar countermeasure, and it'll send back those strong reflections, the reflectivity, back to the radar site. But that was a false return. Wasn't necessarily rainfall showing up there along coastal areas just yet. But interesting, if you did notice that, Tania, on the First Alert Weather app, just wanted to address it. We see that a lot over North Alabama with a lot of the exercises that happen there around Keystone, places like that.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of cool. A little radar meteorology for you this evening. But the late next week, you and I were discussing this forecast, and it looks like perhaps around the 10th, still could have some colder air coming back. It's still wintertime.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about below freezing just yet, but back in the 30s, it could be possible.
Yeah, you know it's not, I mean, it snowed in April here before, so you know there's a lot more colder weather that's coming, but we do not see the level, as you mentioned, of cold that we just saw early January.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're still enjoying our fall spring for now, but yes, Wes, as we look beyond the 7-day, this is what we are tracking. So notice here, February 7th through February 13th, it still shows us through about mid-February that we could still be seeing above average temperatures. But like Wes was showing, notice areas just slightly to our north and west, colder air, they're noticing and already going to possibly see below average temps. And it doesn't take much time for that cold air to build in for us here across the southeast. So colder weather could be in the forecast beyond February the 13th. So this is just after Valentine's Day. But as we look, February 7th through February 13th, as far as precipitation here across central Alabama, we're going to be possibly dealing with more wet wet weather than average. Now, breaking down those rain chances, looking beyond the 7-day, starting with February 6th. Keep in mind, this is not this week. This is into next week. So this is next Thursday, not today, right? February 6th into Friday, February the 7th, could see another round of rain, kind of in that cyclic pattern. We bring in February the 8th, Saturday, 4 p.m., catching a break. Maybe some models are hinting at some rain at that point. And then we bring in February the 11th, maybe another round for some rain into February the 12th. That's the following Wednesday. But notice, I have some good news for Lover's Day. Valentine's Day, for now, looks dry. So we'll hold on to that hope that we can keep some dry conditions as we get closer to the middle of the month. But I want to just show you now that farmers, we've been talking about it a little bit. We talk about that historic winter storm that swept through the Gulf Coast regions. Farmers in Louisiana are beginning to pick up the pieces. The snow and cold severely damaged crops in that region. And Shawanda Jones is going to tell us the latest.
1 week after the state's biggest snowstorm of the century, workers at the Harris Strawberry Farm in Hammond were back in the fields. The harvest is slim, the damage is heavy. How much of the crops would you say that y'all lost?
Oh, I'd say 85%.
85%?
Yes.
That's a lot.
I know.
7 minutes away in Holden, Landry Pochet's Strawberry Farm fared better. Next year marks their 100th harvest. This season, 2 layers of frost covers made all the difference, but every berry couldn't be saved.
Quality, not quantity.
Still, 20% of the Pochet family strawberries are burnt, blackened from the inside out.
And you see how nice and pretty that one is?
Yes.
All right. Typically, if you get one that's damaged from frost or cold, the inside of that will be black.
Back at the Harris farm, burnt buds are found almost on every plant. Jose, who's been tending strawberries for almost 20 years, says it's tough to see this much loss.
Well, we got to take care of the plants, and they will come back.
Okay.
You know?
So it's just about timing.
Yeah, time.
But he remains confident that the next batch of strawberries will be ready right on time for Ponchatoula's Strawberry Festival in April.
We have some weather photos. This
that's
one showing the
beautiful.
clouds across Coleman. Sandra Martin. I wonder if that was today.
Could have been out there with those. Yesterday, you know, we started seeing some clouds moving in.
That's
Jamie
true.
Latham in Gulf Shores. What a view, man.
Is that snow still down there? No, I'm just
no.
kidding.
Hey, I'm ready for a beach trip after seeing that.
Honestly. And Tyler Young, this is out in Trussville, Alabama.
Yeah, I believe Tyler, that was some more of that freezing fog. He had several photos he shared with us there. And we also have
That's pretty.
Larry and Willa Burton sharing this from Caney Creek Falls.
Gorgeous.
Lovely. And with all that
I
rain
wonder if you had
tonight.
to hike there to see that.
Yeah.
Do you have to hike it?
Yeah, I believe
Oh.
so. Yeah.
Okay. I want to do that hike. That's beautiful.
Check it out. Hey, we have some beautiful sites.
I
It's
know.
absolutely
I need to write that
Alabama,
down.
Right? So
Caney Creek Falls.
check it out. Hey, we'll see you back here tonight. More updates at 9.